I've always grown herbs. I've been a member of the Herb Club for many years and grow a lot of herbs, use a lot of herbs, and had a grandmother who grew a lot of things. Well, I'm 90, so I grow basil and parsley and marjoram and thyme, the things that I most need in the kitchen. Then I grow other herbs down on the ground. Of course, everyone knows basil. This is the tomato herb. If you have anything with tomatoes in it, spaghetti sauce, tomato soup, just raw cut tomatoes, you have to sprinkle basil on it. Probably one of my favorite herbs is marjoram. This has gone to blossom and seed. You can still eat the blossoms and the seeds. I use this in salads, in any beef dish, and then thyme is another favorite, particularly for soups, for pork dishes. So those three are my very favorites that I wouldn't be without. I particularly like the scented geraniums because you can grow those indoors, and when you're longing for growing outside, you just go around and you rub the leaves of your scented geraniums and you get a very wonderful fragrance. Another one that's a favorite for scent is mints, and there are many kinds of mints, probably 100 different mints because they cross-pollinate. So the main ones are peppermint and spearmint, but there are lots of others. Then in the olden times, of course, there weren't pharmacies, so they had to depend on Mom making all of the medicines that she might need for her family. And that would include using the wild herbs. The Native Americans taught the early colonists to use pennyroyal. It was very good for keeping away bugs so that you didn't get bug stings. It grows wild in my garden, and you can just rub it on your dog's fur and it will keep the fleas away. The other medicinal herbs that I have here are good tasting. You can use them otherwise, but southernwood is not as good tasting. It does repel insects, so the mothers in olden times would hang southernwood in their homes or sprinkle it on their dirt floors to keep away the insects, because it wasn't just insects, it was animals that were inside on the dirt floors. And people didn't bathe very frequently in the olden times. It was maybe once a week, and then it was the whole family got into the tub. First the cleanest person, and then it finally ended up with the dirtiest person got in last. So they had to use other things to make the house and to make their bodies fragrant. The ladies would wear something, well, they could have it in their houses to fragrance, but they also would tuck it in. They called it a bosom bag, so they always smelled fragrant, even if they hadn't had a bath recently. Besides sachet bags, they would have a little potpourri jar, or they would fragrance their soaps. Now, most of the soaps in the olden times were yellow and harsh, but once in a while for guests they would put some of the lavender in the soaps, and they kept those bars very small because they couldn't afford a big bar for their guests. Other medicinal herbs, of course, are aloe, that everybody still grows, good for cuts and burns. Tansy, again, was an insect repellent and a room freshener. This was the stem from the lovage plant, and it's hollow. So they used that as we would use a drinking straw now. They made their own ointments. Sometimes aloe would be one of the components, or it could be chamomile. or calendula, they're Victorian times. The mothers taught their daughters to take the long stem of lavender, and the buds are here inside. They wove the ribbon around to make it attractive. And then if you wanted to smell the lavender scent, you roll it between your hands, and then it gives a very good fragrance of the lavender. This was a caterpillar who was very hungry, and he ate a lot of different leaves, and it didn't make him feel better. One day, his mother gave to him a particular leaf. Now, I like to think that it was probably one of the herbal leaves. At the end of the story that the children know, he turned into a chrysalis, and then he ended up a beautiful butterfly. So I can't guarantee that children eating herbal leaves will turn into butterflies, but they might feel better. So these are herbs that they can touch and smell and taste. Lamb's ear, which is nice and fuzzy, and I like the texture of tansy. Then the things to smell, of course, lavender, and the scented geraniums, and sage, and then things that maybe if they're brave enough, they'll taste. And that would be peppermint and parsley. And we try to encourage children to eat parsley because it's very high in vitamins A and C. It was sort of a digestive, and it freshened their breath. So parsley was always on the plates. And then I think I have oregano here, which children recognize as the pizza herb.
We have herbal teas. We have a spearmint tea, and we have a peppermint tea, and then we have two aids, a mint aid, and we have a lemon aid that we've fragranced with certain herbs. A lot of the children know the tale of Peter Rabbit. When he got a tummy ache, his Mommy Rabbit, gave him a cup of chamomile tea. You can grow it in your own garden and steep your own tea. We have anise hyssop, which you can make a tea of as well. And then we have bee balm, and this is fresh bee balm. The Oswego Indians taught the settlers to make tea from bee balm because they did not want to buy tea from Europe any longer. It's a beautiful, beautiful plant. It comes in reds and purples. That's spearmint tea. Oh, it's so good. This is echinacea. It's a very healing herb. They make teas. They actually make some medicines out of it.
Calendula.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
It's pretty in the garden, but the Pennsylvania Dutch were particularly enamored of calendula. They used it in all their cooking. Rice, puddings, soups, anything they could think of, they put calendula in because they liked the coloring. In fact, they liked the coloring so much they fed it to their cows, so the cow's milk would be yellow. They used so much calendula that the other settlers called them the Yellow Dutch.
That looks beautiful in dried.
Yes, it's sage, which is similar to lamb's ears. It has that softness on the top. Well, in order to identify a herb, if you don't quite remember the name, you bend down, you touch it, you rub it between your fingers and smell
When
it.
you're going to smell an herb, especially when you want to identify it, an herbalist once taught me, you just gently act as though you're the breeze, moving it in the breeze, and then you can smell it and it'll emit its fragrance.
Well, and the reason for that is the leaves carry the essential oils. That's what they distill to make fragrances and soaps and all today. You have to rub the leaf to get that essential oil out. Natural herbs, fresh from your garden.